My mum passed when I was 8 years old. I very much was, had my hair cut short, like a little bob. It was more so for ease, we knew how to wash short hair. We knew how to put it in a ponytail, and that's as far as I went. I would go to my grandma's kitchen literally every weekend and just come up with loads of different hair oil concoctions. We eventually landed upon an oil formula of 8 natural oils, and this just worked. And it was a little secret formula that I was just sitting on my whole life. I was like, let me introduce this product because it works for me, and let me share the secret with all of these people. And they love the secret. And I don't know whether it was because I was a new business, I was a woman, I was South Asian. He just did not take me seriously. Having that understanding that just because you're not posting your failures, it doesn't mean that you're failureless.
My guest today is a social media influencer and founder of hair care brand ByErim. By the name of the brand, you probably will have guessed. My guest today is Erim Kaur. How are you doing?
Hello. Firstly, thank you for having me on here. I'm so honoured and I'm so excited.
No worries. I appreciate you giving up your time. I know you've got a very busy schedule.
Did you see it on Instagram this morning?
Yeah, I did. I was actually looking because we scheduled this for 4, and then I was like, and then it changed to 5, but I was still on your calendar at 4. So I quickly messaged back and I was like, is it 4 or is it 5? I don't know which one's which.
We made it.
We made it. The way I start every single podcast is basically by taking a trip down memory lane. So what was young Erim like as a kid? What was your upbringing like? Yeah.
Okay. So Erim as a person was very shy. I literally would hide underneath my mum's lenga skirt, which is like a traditional South Asian dress, at weddings. I was like, I don't want anyone to talk to me. I used to literally be everywhere with a book. I was just very, very shy. And my best friends, we've been best friends since we were 4. We were the exact same. So we were just enablers for each other, just not associating with anyone. Definitely came into my own when I got a bit older, and relating to my story with my oil. My mum passed when I was 8 years old. So as I kind of grew up in a household of just men, my brother and my dad, I very much was, had my hair cut short, like a little bob. Didn't suit me. My face is way too round for that hairstyle. Don't know what the hairdresser was thinking, but I think it was more so for ease. We knew how to wash short hair. We knew how to put it in a ponytail, and that's as far as I went. As I grew older and as I started to get more into, I think this is an archaic idea to some of the people maybe listening, but magazines, I started to kind of get more to grips with the concepts of female beauty, and I fell in love with hair. And I think it's because my mum had really long hair, so I was just that's the definition of beauty. I'm sure a lot of people can relate, what they think is beautiful might have been what their mum had or has. So I would go to my daddi, which means my grandma's kitchen, literally every weekend since I was, I'd say 10, maybe a bit younger, and just come up with loads of different hair oil concoctions. We did some really weird and wacky ones. We did egg, we did gram flour, and some of them, it was really weird. We eventually landed upon an oil formula of 8 natural oils, and this just worked. And it was a little secret formula that I was just sitting on my whole life. And then as I got to, I think I started being an influencer after uni. So I would say maybe when I was 22 years old, I had maybe 10K or something like that. And it started to grow. It's at over 200 now. I realized that my followers might also be someone who didn't have a mum, but they might also be in a position where they didn't have a daddi. So I was like, let me introduce this product because it works for me, and let me share the secret with all of these people. And they love the secret.
Yeah, evidently so. We'll get on to ByErim and the product itself in a little bit. But when you were growing up, obviously you've been really public about losing your mum at a young age and all that, and how it shaped your sort of journey. I'm guessing obviously it would have been really hard, but other than the ByErim story, which obviously, as I say, is you've talked about previously, what other sort of impacts do you think it had on you growing up, in a male-dominated environment?
I think there's little things that people don't realize that you don't learn about. And it's how to be a woman in certain social environments, because at weddings, like I'd sit on the men's side of the Gurdwara. You know, normally the women sit on one side, but I didn't have anyone to sit with on the women's side. So I sit with my dad. Even like going abroad and like the way my dad would talk to waiters, like I wasn't aware that like a young girl couldn't speak to waiters and be like, you know, like, you know, like loud and stuff. And of course they can, but it was a bit confusing to me because I didn't necessarily have a role model in terms of the smaller moments or intricacies of social interaction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, to be fair. Like the more people who know, especially at that age when you're a kid, like it probably will be easier for them to accommodate not just the sort of alpha dominated environment in that sense, but also do you think you gained anything from maybe being around like your dad and your brother so much? Like I imagine, as we're going to touch on a bit later on, in a business environment, it's probably you've probably picked up a few of the intricacies that have probably helped.
Yeah. So I actually my dad was a really good mum and dad. You know how they say like single parents often adopt, like the mum is the dad and the mum. In my dad's case, he was the dad and the mum. So I am to this day, and I'm very, very lucky that out of all the dads in the world, I got my one. What he wasn't able to provide me or to inform me about, he tried his very best, or he would outsource it. So, you know, like his personal trainer's wife, like I didn't even have aunties for a very long time until that kind of came along. So it was kind of difficult. But yeah, I think he is very much one of those people who's like sink or swim. And again, I know I keep relating things to ByErim, but when I started ByErim, he was like, I'm not helping you because everyone's going to think that I done it for you. So you're going to have to do it on your own. And luckily Sis can swim, so it was okay. But that really is his mentality. It's not like a gently, you know?
I think that's refreshing though. Like obviously a lot of Indian parents are like that, but nowadays it's becoming less and less. And then when people get hit with reality, sometimes it can like make or break them. Do you know what I mean? And obviously,
yeah, especially at uni. Like when I went to uni and I saw some of the girls and I was like, why are you behaving like this? Like I was so confused because I'd never been around South Asian people before because I grew up in a very like multicultural environment, but not skewing towards South Asian. It was like kind of everything else. So I was like, who are these people? How did they know that getting hit with a chappal is a normal thing? Do you know what I
mean? Yeah, definitely. Talking about going to uni and stuff, you've always been like quite academically gifted. I've heard in like other podcasts and things that you've said. And did you study in America as well?
Yeah. So I did. I've got family in America. So when I was picking my unis, for some reason, University of Manchester was at the bottom of my list. The day I went there, as I'm sure you can imagine, it was very grey, very rainy. And I was like, Dad, I don't want to go here. It's disgusting. Then one of my cousins went there and he literally, all he had to do was say, come Manchester. And then I was like, okay, Dad, I'm going Manchester. And then I turned up and it was a 4-year degree. So I did international management with American business studies. So it was 2 years. 1 year abroad where I was studying at Emory University, and then I came back and I did my final year.
Where's that? Emory, did
Atlanta?
You say? Oh, okay. I've heard I've seen one of your YouTube videos as well. I did my research before starting this.
I can tell. It's good.
And you were saying that like one of the best lessons, you've been quite vocal about how university hasn't really prepped you for being an entrepreneur and business. I've done my research.
You know, it's so good because some people come on the call, they're like, is it Erim or Erin? Is there a typo? And I'm like, sis, go home.
No, I'm not going to waste anybody's time. Yeah, I'm not going to waste anybody's time. I do my research. But one of the things that you mentioned was that one of the only useful lessons from your university time was the negotiating. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
I had an amazing teacher. She was a woman of color. She was very, very young. I really like related to her. And one of the things, and I have spoken about this before, so tell me if you don't want me to repeat it, but we did a task in the class. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Just repeat it. Yeah, repeat it.
It's a good story.
It's a good story, exactly. I want it on my podcast. It's a good story.
Basically, I think I really hated the girl I was partnered up with, and the teacher would give us scenarios. So one of us would be like the supplier, one of us would be the buyer or whatever. And I just really didn't like this girl. And I was so fixated on her getting the lowest amount or the lowest like benefit that I didn't focus on giving myself the highest benefit, even if that meant that she got higher. And I remember out of all the people in the class, she did the worst, but I only did average. because the teacher like plotted us on the chart, like the next lesson to see and reflect. After that, I realized, like, don't care, like putting other like person like less, just focus on putting yourself highest. And if you can collaborate in negotiation to kind of what she would call it as widen the pie. So instead of like arguing, okay, I'll have 5 apples, okay, I'll buy 5 apples, you can talk about, okay, I'll have 5 apples, but throw in a couple of carrots. Okay, but can you do speedy delivery? Okay, but can you make sure they're super, super fresh? Or I don't mind, I'll take the moldy ones, I need them today. Expanding that pie, so there's different ways that different people can benefit, has helped me, honestly, infinitely, not just in business, but in life. So it was a very, very valuable and necessary lesson, I think, for me to learn.
Yeah, I think that like sort of attitude has probably changed over the years, especially with the like introduction of the internet. Like way back in the day, there was only a set amount of resources for people in the wider public. I'm not obviously talking about this negotiation sort of task that you did, but like when the internet came around, it's like, well, there's not only if you're a musician, there's not one record label who you're fighting for. You can just upload your music to YouTube or SoundCloud, and there's enough like to go around. And I think that attitude is slowly changing. I think maybe our community is probably at the end of that list, but of changing, but it's getting there. It is getting there.
That's a good example, definitely.
Yeah. And so because you're academically gifted, and you said that you did like quite well a union thing, I think you got a first. Why switch to becoming an entrepreneur?
I'm unhireable. I don't know what happened. When I graduated, I thought I was Billy Big Bollocks, and I was like, yes, I don't need to apply for these grad schemes. They'll take me. Da, da, da. I was wrong. I got very quickly humbled. I was unemployed for 8 months, and I've been working at nightclubs since I was 18 years old. I didn't think I'd be a graduate with like a first-class degree from like a red brick uni working at a club. And not to say that that was something that was below me, because you have to be very, very smart to work in the club. But it was something that I pictured myself like in an office, in a really structured environment, and that's not what I had. But I have to say, I think the environment that I ended up in, like at the clubs continuously, like that really, really shaped me in terms of knowing how to communicate with different types of people, negotiating. So I don't think my time at the club was done until like I think it was like a year after I graduated. And then I really came into my own. I managed to actually get one of those jobs. But had I not gone through that with the clubs and stuff, I don't think I would have been as horrible as I thought it was.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like I've said on previous podcasts as well, like we have shops up in Newcastle, and that sort of quality to be able to speak to like a diverse amount of people. If you can talk to everybody, then it's a really good skill to have.
I agree with you. Very underrated as well, because a lot of people don't develop it. They kind of grow up in a little bubble where it's just them and their homework, and they're just sat there and the people that they know every day. But it's like when you're in the big bad world and you do need to go and meet these people, do you have the confidence to stand in front of that person, introduce yourself, negotiate with them, and all the rest?
Exactly, especially now with like smartphones and stuff. When I was going to work experience and things, they would constantly compare me to other kids who were going to work experience and be like, you can speak to people a lot better than other kids. And I think probably coming from the shop background, that's probably why I'm not just like stuck on my phone and only having virtual interactions. I'm actually
definitely. And I think being a young kid with a job, as I can imagine, how old are you when you started working?
Like 13, 12.
Yeah, like you develop social skills. I was 14. Like you developed them young, you know, that's ingrained in you. And you can even see in your podcast, you're very, very easy to talk to.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Exactly. Yeah, I'm blushing. And then we get to starting Erim. But before you started Erim, I assume that you had a good amount of social followers, like as you alluded to previously. So before like the concept came, how active were you on social media, and how many followers did you have?
I think so. My page, Touchwood Wife, it grew very, very quickly. So I think I had like, one year was 10K, the next year was 100K or 50K, then it was 100K, something like that, right? I had, I believe, like 150K when I launched ByErim.
Right.
Quite a lot, yeah.
Yeah, that is quite a bit, to be fair. And especially like as it's like naturally grown as well, which is that's a different topic in itself.
Yeah, I was about to say.
That's a different topic in itself.
We'll talk about that if you want to.
Yeah, well, I know plenty of pages that boosted to the eyeballs. But obviously you launched when you were at 150K, but you've mentioned before that like it took you quite a while from concept to launch. Like it wasn't just then you just wake up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna launch this product now. There's obviously branding, there's manufacturing, there's getting the actual ingredients right, and everything. So how long did that take?
So like this is the thing, right? Like I had a lot of people in my life being like, oh, just like do a desi style, like just bung it all together in a bucket and chuck it all into little bottles. And I was like, no, because that's not safe, right? That's not safe. I'm not going to have someone turn around and like sue me because half of it was essential oil because you're only allowed to have 1%. Like I was like, no, I'm going to do this properly. And doing it properly as a young girl who sounds very young on the phone. I don't know why my phone voice sounds like a 12-year-old, but for some reason it does. No one takes you seriously because your minimum order quantity, their minimum order quantity is never met. Like you can never afford the initial amount of orders. And especially someone like me, funnily enough, I'm very averse to risk. My dad is very much like, okay, like let's spend £1 million on it. Do you know what I mean? I'm very much like, I'll give you 1p and then I'll pay that to you. And no, do you know what I mean? So I've changed now, but at that time I was very risk averse, and having these people kind of in my ear saying to me, I'll just do it desi style, I think I would have brought it to market quicker. But I don't think that there was a particular demand, not demand necessarily, but like a hype or a desperation for the product. So I took my time and I did it right. And I think that's what's super important, because you get a lot of these like cowboy little hair oil. And I say that in inverted commas, because they're making it in their kitchen. They're doing exactly what I was advised to do because it's cheaper, because it's like somewhat easier. But is it scalable? Is it safe? Is it legit? Is it adhering to trading standards? Have they had it lab tested? No.
Yeah, I can imagine in that industry as well. The hair care industry seems like a very complicated sort of environment. I had Erim Kaur on a few podcasts ago. She's an author of the Happy the Hattie books.
I love her.
Yeah. So, and she was talking about how long it took her to go through all the process of setting up a book in a children's book and the standards and having it off cardboard so the kids don't like.
I love
it
when
doesn't take the
northern people
mush.
say book, book.
Oh no!
My friend
Yes.
used to say that. I'm gonna have a
Yes,
book at my book.
There's my accent getting ridiculed by Southerners again. Oh no! So when you're doing all this, you said you've already like. Did you already have the like concoction made beforehand with your daddy?
Yeah, but you know what it is?
Mhm.
What that these are like? They're like, okay, this much and this much and this much. Like, you're like, wait, pause. How
Yeah.
many milliliters was that? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had to oh damn it, what's that word when you put it from quantity to an actual number? Is it numericize or quantify?
Quantify. Okay.
Quantify. We had to quantify it, which was
Yeah.
a very long process, and it took us a lot of redos by the lab because I was like, no, I can feel it. It's different. Da, da, da. Like, so we needed to edit it, and honestly, it came down to the 0.3% of particular oils, and that's why I'm just like, listen, I'm very transparent. All of my ingredients are listed online very, very clearly, but you're just never gonna get that exact formula, and having it off by 1%, 2%, even in my opinion, 0.3%, like, it's just not going to be the same.
Well, I didn't know it was that much. Like I like cooking, but I never measure anything when I'm cooking. Do you know what I mean? Like I
Because you're
hate it.
Indian.
Oh, exactly. Well, there's that as well. But even when you're at school doing food and things, and like you have to write everything down and measure it and all this, I'm just like, nah. Like I know if I chuck these things together, they're gonna taste nice. I don't think I would have the patience to go through 0.003 percent is crazy. And I've got a statement from like your website. It's basically it's all natural, unisex, vegan friendly, cruelty free, luxury hair oil designed to help you reach your optimal hair health and beauty. So when I see vegan friendly, all natural, cruelty free, these are obviously good things because nowadays it is very good to be like a moral company. But because you're like publicizing this, that indicates to me that other people don't do them things.
Yeah, with oils, it's hard not to be vegan friendly, I think, because they're kind of, fruit derived or from a plant and stuff like that. But it is, if it matters to someone, you should talk about it. It's very difficult, for instance, in shampoo to keep it cruelty free because you've got certain ingredients like hydrolyzed silk, which come from a silkworm. You've got things like honey, a lot of people use, and it's very difficult at that point because it's really about like how educated you are when it comes to like what products are animal derived, and that's not necessarily a very intuitive thing, especially in 2021, like the vegan movement is very, very strong, but I don't think it's strong enough for me to fully know the ins and outs of the origins of every single ingredient. And I think a lot of people don't know that either. So I think it's important, not only as a point of education, but as a point of marketing, to include that it's vegan friendly, cruelty free.
Yeah, definitely. I'm not going to speak on it because I don't know. I'm just going to avoid that topic completely. But like as I said, when I read it, it seemed like if people are marketing it specifically like that, it does these things, and it might indicate that that's like a competitive advantage that other people don't. You obviously are very transparent. You've already said that about your 8 ingredients, and they are all natural. They're on the website to look at. A few of them I recognize as like quite traditional ingredients as well, as like thales and stuff that you use when you're growing up. So I had this conversation recently as well. It's very funny how like the Western world is now catching up to traditional Eastern things.
Big time. Who was it? I saw Kourtney Kardashian talking about amla, and I was like, what has the world come to? Where are we?
Yeah. Well, it's like turmeric. You hear turmeric so good for your health, and you're like, I've been having haldi in my dod since I was like 5 years old. You know what I mean?
Good example.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally. And I think like the concept of Ayurveda is hopefully not trending in the sense that the trend will die in the Western community, because I think it's important. But we have Ayurvedic oils in our hair oil, and that's another point of difference. But like the Western world is catching up, and as they should, you know, like Indians got good hair. Copy us.
Yeah, definitely. It's not even like little things like that. It's like toothpaste as well. I'm a proper history nerd. Okay, so I love doing like history at school and things. And Winston Churchill, when the British Raj and all that went over there, they tried to civilize all the Indians we were saying that we were ravagers when he went over to India. Yeah, exactly. Or savages, sorry. And I think we used basically coal to brush our teeth, so something like derived from coal. And obviously, when you're brushing your teeth with something that looks black, their assumption back in them days was you're just making it dirtier. Like, what are you doing? And now, fast forward, 60, 70 years or something, I've seen charcoal toothpaste in Tesco the other day, and it's a manga. Do you know what I mean? It's not cheap either. It's expensive. We were doing this 100 years ago before you interrupted us. Do you know what I mean? It's not fun. And the other key thing that as a lad, when I see your hair oil, it is for men as well. It's not just for women.
So a lot of people, like, they do testing hair oil on hair. Therefore, you do not have proof that it works on the beard. Like, mine has been beard tested as well. You know, a lot of these people just like to be out here like, you can use it on your eyebrows and your eyelashes. Have you tested it for your eyelashes? Because that is a completely different process. And I can guarantee that your hair oil is not going to be approved to be used on your lashes as well. So it is able to be used for beards. And the beautiful thing about it is it's been designed with like longer beards in mind. Obviously it can work for stubbles as well, you just use less, obviously. But because it's like a less greasy oil, it just kind of helps to control the beard and like make it a lot smoother, not as like wiry, which can often look a little bit unkept, which is totally fine. But if you want to look a bit more groomed, you can put the oil in it, and it the smell goes after 20 minutes, so it doesn't disrupt your aftershave.
The other thing I was going to say is it's probably I'm assuming the majority of your buys are still female, but did you see any increase during any of the lockdowns? Because when people can't go to barbers and their hair gets very long, like my own, did you see any increase then?
Yeah, I think, you know, we've been making a conscious effort to market more to men, because I really, you know, growing up in a household of men, I very much like advocate for male self-care, and like that's something that my dad does, like he does his grooming and stuff. So I really want that to be something that boys are now taking on upon themselves. Like, it's not a matter of, and I'm looking at you, waking up in the morning, washing your face with water and then leaving the yard. Like, you need to do more than that now. It's 2021. I don't know if you do that, but at least integrate a hair oil or a beard oil into your routine, because it's just so easy. Literally pump, rub, go.
I feel personally attacked. No, to be fair, the only thing I use is this Aveeno cream.
Aveeno's really good.
Yeah.
Keep using it.
I got eczema a couple of years back, but it was the first time that like it happened, and I was quite old, to be fair. And I went to the doctor, and he basically prescribed me that, so I use that every day. But that's the only thing I'll pretty much use.
Only thing you need to do is use an SPF on your face as well. Like, you know, sunscreen, you need to wear that every day, even if you're inside in the winter.
Why is that?
because UV can go through windows, and UV is the biggest factor that contributes to skin aging.
Oh, okay.
So you're going to get wrinkles.
Oh. Oh, again, I feel personally attacked.
It's my number one thing I preach about is using SPF, other than hair oil, obviously.
Yeah, I didn't know that. See, this is why I'm interested in the sciencey sort of thing, because you learn something new every day. Transitioning into sort of the businessy side of things, you're a young South Asian female, and as you said before, your telephone voice is very an indicator of your age. Did you find any obstacles when you were setting up ByErim or in any business encounters thus far?
Mm-hmm. You know what? I just spoke about this, but I'm going to tell you because I think it's something that pissed me off, because I don't have the solution to it yet. And I don't know whether it was because I was a new business, I was a woman, I was South Asian, or what. But when I was initially building a relationship with a factory, he just did not take me seriously. And the thing is like manufacturing is a very old school thing. And I just think he really underestimated me. And I remember asking my dad, and this is before he was part of the business. It was that lovely 1.5 years where I was doing it on my own. I was like, Dad, please, like, get on the phone to this guy. Like, I don't think he believes me. And my dad was like, no, I do not know anything about this deal that you've got going on. I do not know anything about your hair oil. I'm not going to do it. You need to handle it. Since my dad has come on board, people take me very seriously. But I have to say, like, my dad coming on board and the growth of the business has been very much in line. So it could be because now, we're ordering larger quantities and money talks. Don't know.
Yeah, it is a weird one. Again, going back to the Rabina podcast, I asked her the similar thing, and she had similar interactions where people were sending her terms and conditions, but they were blurry. And she's a lawyer by trade, and it's like, that she's a lawyer, and you're sending her blurry terms and conditions, so you can probably slide something in and it's like you do the research, which is like as she has done and as you've done, and I think. I'm just going to mirror what both of you have said. I think it is like an underestimating thing, but it's credit where credit's due, because I don't know if it was yourself or her that said this previously, but if a man had done the same thing, there would be a much more like adulation behind it. Do you know what I mean?
It wasn't me, but yeah, no, I get that.
I think it might have been Rabina who said it in our conversation, but she was like, that's how she felt towards it, and like obviously it mirrored in the solicitor world as well, and she'd had experiences where people were undermining her because she was a female South Asian, and it's like I don't think any of that stuff should be relevant nowadays. Do you know what I mean? It's basically on merit, in my opinion, anyway.
Listen, all the people that rejected her, all the people that rejected me, they're crying now. Look at me now. Like, you should have believed in me from the start.
Yeah. Well, that's it. And as you said, like it's money talks. Do you know what I mean? And as your business grows and as it goes leaps and bounds, they're going to very much be regretting their decisions.
Yeah, and I hope that if another young South Asian girl approaches that supplier that like I was speaking to, or someone of that sort, they can be like, oh damn, last time I spoke to one of these little girls, she popped off. So let me take this one seriously. And if I have been able to indirectly open a door for another young girl that like looks like me, in the sense that her not looks like me physically, but like on paper, then thumbs up.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. What is the plan for ByErim going forward? Is it more products, or is it opening doors and to get into more retail spaces, or what is it both? Is it everything? Is it conquering the world?
Yeah, you know what? Like, you get the biggest margins when you're selling from your own store online. At the end of the day, I don't have to give a cut to no one. And that's something that I would like to definitely do one day in terms of expanding the brand. And that's something that I'm very open to. But my focus right now, we only have, I think, 8 people in our team. So I'm focusing on a lot of things at once, but my focus right now very much is expanding our product line, because I think in order to be let into these stores, you need to have more than one product. They're kind of like looking at me right now like, sis, you got one thing to sell and nothing else. So I'm trying to start like a range. The next thing that we're having is shampoo and conditioner. It was meant to be a secret, and then I said it once in a live, so it's no longer a secret. So you guys can know.
Fair enough. It's again going back to the music parallel. It's a weird thing where like artists always say their first debut album is like an accumulation of their life so far. Like when you hear Eminem's first album, it's from being the white trash in quotes because that's what he said.
Yeah, yeah.
Before anybody
I
like
remember.
says that I'm calling him white trash because he's not. He's one of the greatest of all time. But it's all that them years accumulated into one album, and the second one is so much harder because you've
What do
spent
you talk about?
10 15 years on one thing, and then how do you progress in a short amount of time? Do you find that's the same with having your product, as in you've spent so many years with your daddy formulating this perfect
Yeah.
product and then going forward?
So, okay, so my next thing that I've got, and I've already did a mini launch, is the brush. And the thing is like you can inject your brand story into the product if you make the product personal to you. So for instance, the hairbrush is made from wood, the Ganga, the
Yeah.
5Ks. There you go. So it's kind of like integrating that story into your new product. The shampoo and conditioner, I want it to have ByErim inside it. I want it to have, maybe my daddy doesn't know words like Isolux and whatnot, but like she can explain in the way that your ancestors or my ancestors could have told us that coal was good for our teeth. She can explain that. And then I have the science person, who is not me, to come into the picture and understand that and apply it. So definitely harder, because I didn't make shampoos with my grandma in the kitchen. I don't know if anyone else did, but I didn't. But you can inject the story into it if you make the product reflective of that. One thing I hate is when people start a business with no soul. And now what I've noticed, a lot of people are now catching up and they're like, oh God, I need to have a brand story. And they're now trying to inject a soul into their business or a brand story. I'm like, sis, you can't just make one up,
Yeah, yeah.
3 years into it. Like, you got to have had it to begin with.
Yeah, that's it. And the most of the successful stories are basically those who do it for fun or for passion, and then eventually it takes over anyway. So if you're doing it for just monetary value and then
Yeah.
trying to add all these layers in afterwards, it's not going to work, because people can
Yeah.
see through authenticity, which is one thing I really like about yourself. So as I said, I've done my research and things, and I've went through your Instagram, and you had like your picture with the i8 the other day. Your dad's i8, sorry, and you were very transparent.
Don't trick everyone into thinking I have
sorry.
a supercar.
Sorry, specifically your dad's i8, because you very openly said like, this is my dad's. I just got the key to open it and sit in it, took the picture, and then left, which is basically social media, but nobody ever says that's social media. Do you know what I mean?
I just get scared. Like, I don't want no one to be like, there she is posing in her dad's car. Like, let me say it first before you say it, because that's the truth of the matter. And like, you're not going to catch me driving around in it. You're going to catch me driving around in my car. So like, let me not fool you. My biggest fear is that someone's going to say like, she's catfish. So I'm just like, let me be as real as I possibly can, the good and the bad. And hopefully if you do see me, not even physically, but like personality wise, or like the things I have, I'm not holding my friend's handbag, I'm holding my handbag. When you see me out and about, I'm going to be holding that handbag.
Yeah.
Because often, like there's Instagram and there's reality, and I understand there's always going to be a difference, but trying to mediate that difference, I think, and I know you're going to touch on this later, but it is so much better for your mental health than trying to keep up like a facade of what people perceive you to be online. Like, just be you, be honest.
It's sustainability. You can't be fake forever. Do you know what I mean? You have to, if you want to do it long term, then you have to be yourself. Which is, it's not just on your Instagram though; it's across all your platforms. I was watching a few YouTube videos that you're quite active on there as well, and I think it was like an assumptions video where you said like, I think somebody asked you about plastic surgery if you had lip fillers, and you quite honestly said, no, I don't. But in the future, if anything is here or there, I might experiment, which is like, it's refreshing to hear, because you're not saying like, no, I'm 100% natural and I'm never going to do any of this because I'm perfect, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? Which is what some people do.
Because it's isolating. If one of my followers is watching and they have lip fillers, I don't want to ever make her feel bad about it, because she could have done it for whatever reason she wanted. And that's okay. But I understand people have different stances on plastic surgery. I just don't want to be that person that's like, no, I never want to get it. And then I get it, So let me just caveat it for the future. So if anyone's like says anything, I can be like, well, I did say if I wanted it, I get it. But I do try my hardest at this age. I do kind of want to advocate for natural beauty. And obviously, I do wear makeup, I straighten my hair and all these types of things, but I do want there to be a face on Instagram that moves how it's meant to move naturally, and to embrace the like imperfections that come along with having your face like that, because at the end of the day, that's how God made you. But if you do want to change something, honestly, it is your decision. Like, I really, honestly, one of my friends got lit full of the other day, and I was like clapping. I was like, I'm so happy you done it. Like, you were talking about it for so long. Like, you're so brave, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, it's just everyone's own personal journey. And I don't think any of us are here to judge each other for whatever they decide to do.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying it in a judgy way towards plastic surgery, because
No.
I meant it in a way that like you were quite transparent in your views. Again, don't want to be cancelled.
Yeah.
And
You're putting it out there, mate.
I know. I'm saying
speaking.
I'm saying this so much. One day someone's gonna look back and say, "You said this."
Touch wood. That's the scary thing, though. And a lot of influencers talk about it now is like cancel culture. And I think one of the things that is really important to me is people understanding you to be not just like a Barbie cutout online, but like a 3D figure that makes mistakes, that says the wrong thing. Because in real life, like offline, we all say the wrong things and we all do the wrong things. So having that understanding that just because you're not posting your failures, it doesn't mean that you're failureless. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. You have to have failures to go on to have successes afterwards anyway.
Yeah.
And it is scary. Like if you have if anybody recorded the conversation that you have with your friends, most of the world would be cancelled. Do you know what I mean? Like it's one of them hypocritical double standard sort of things. And then because we're on the topic of social media, like how important, like, do you feel any pressure because you have beautiful hair? Obviously, you are an embodiment of your brand. Do you feel the pressure that you can't have a quote unquote bad hair day because you are like a walking billboard?
That is such a funny question. I've actually never thought of it like that. No, I posted my natural hair like literally yesterday on my feed. You know, the thing is, like, my hair's very long. So it kind of just like, if it is looking bad, it just drags it down. So it just looks kind of a bit bushy. Yeah. I'm sure if I had shorter hair, it would frizz up a little bit. But I think that's beautiful too. Like, I just think natural hair, I wish I could embrace my natural hair a little bit better. But no, Sis has got good over the years for managing my hair and styling it in all sorts of different ways. So I can more or less contain it if it's a bad hair day, but I don't mind either way.
Yeah, because it is probably like your success on your personal Instagram is very much tied with your business Instagram, because like you are the brand. It is, your name is in there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why I asked that, because there's like, as I said a couple of episodes ago, is Adam Collard, who was on Love Island, and his sole purpose for going there was to basically further his personal training career. So he went in there as a walking billboard. People will look at his abs and say, I want that, so I'm going to get personal trained by him. And that's the reason I asked the question.
Yeah.
And how do you sort of cope with the amount of followers, like positive and negative? Because obviously you do have a very tight-knit community, and I'm not going to touch on the negative side, but like, how do you remain very personal with everybody?
So what I have to say, and I in some ways admire, in more ways pity people who, not pity, but I feel sorry for people who grow in following real fast, especially at a young age. Like, listen, let me say, you know, if Sis was walking around uni campus with 200k followers, I'd not be the same person. But like, I wasn't. And the thing is, it grew really, really naturally, you know, over the last 3 years. I think the growth rate has been pretty much consistent for the last few years. And touch wood, why you just up now, I'm like, I think having that just small everyday change contributes to you understanding how to manage that. It's not like I went to sleep one night with 10k, woke up the next day with 10 million k. Okay, you know what I mean? Maths was the thing I did, but 10 million. I think that definitely helps you to navigate and find your footing in the world, because it can get intimidating if you think about 200,000 people in a room. And if I had to do a speech in front of all those people, like, that would be so scary. But when you think about it every day, like, okay, I know 100 of them. Now I've got 101k. Okay, now I know 101k. Now I've got 102k. It feels like they're my friends and they know me. And they probably don't. They probably don't really care, but like, I care about them.
Yeah. I use that example all the time with numbers on social media, because some of them are unfathomable. But like Newcastle Stadium is known to be like one of the best atmospheres for like football, St. James's, and it's got 55,000 people. When you're in there, like, it's a massive amount of people. The noise they make, 55,000 likes on a video or like on Instagram is nothing. Whereas you see, like, to relatively speaking, like, to
no, completely,
you know what I mean? Like, if you go on Daljeet Dosanjh's Instagram, you know what I mean, and it's millions and millions.
I love how that was the first example of a famous person. Not like Kim Kardashian or Kylie Jenner. Diljit this.
We're a KultureKast podcast. We need to stay relevant. Do you know what I mean? We need to talk about the people that people are gonna know. But if like here's a millions, and if you imagine like 10 St. James's Parks, it's crazy to think of.
Yeah, and I think we lose sight of that. I think a lot of people, when they gain a huge following, and some people don't ask to be a role model, but then when you are being seen by, like you said, 10, it was
St. James's 55,000.
10 St. James's Parks, like, and you think about the impact and the influence that you have on those people, like, you've got to remember that there's that one follower equals one human being, have responsibility for that.
Unless it's these Russian bots or something that some of the Instagram pages are built on. But again, we'll not talk about that.
So creepy.
Yeah.
That's so creepy. Do you follow Little Michaela?
No, I don't know who that is.
I think it's an American one. It's very scary.
Yeah. Well, we've seen it with this farmers protest recently as well. Like some of the hashtags and the images that were coming up with the Sikh hashtag. I don't want to say it again because it's disgusting. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, but it's completely messed up. Messed up.
They said that it's because the Turkish word for intercourse is the same.
I don't think that's true. I think if we're getting very conspiratorial, then it's probably backed by someone or some entity. If we're not getting conspiratorial and we're thinking of algorithms that you probably know of, I think it's probably that hashtag was probably trending at a much higher rate than it normally does. So then bots jump on the trend and try to use that as well. I think that excuse is I don't know if it's true or false, but I don't.
They said on Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know. I find that hard to believe.
Yeah.
So as we've spoke about mental health and similar issues before, how do you try to keep your social media space positive?
Okay, so like I think it's important when you're on social media as a brand or an influencer, you've got to think about the customer experience. I always picture my stories popping up amongst many in someone's story feed, when you just keep on tapping. I want it to be that when you land on my story, a lot of people just tap and they skip people's stories. I want it to be when you land on my story, it makes you feel good. So I try and integrate affirmations into my stories. So, you click on it, you feel good for a second instead of just mindless clicking because that's really bad for you. I try and I forget all the time. I need a good reminder from someone every day, but keeping the camera on something for 15 seconds, be it like water or rain in the window or just kind of like the view from a car, and say, do 15 seconds of deep breathing whilst this video plays, just so someone is kind of taken out of the zone of just like click,
Yeah.
And then, I personally do exercise. I only work out once or twice a week. I think I've randomly been branded as like a workout girl. Right. I don't know why, but everyone always asks me about it. And I'm like, sis, I do it once or twice. Like, I don't do a lot, but in any way that I can kind of like encourage like positive behaviors, be it like cooking at home or journaling. I really got into journaling recently. I definitely think it's a good thing. If you haven't tried it, I was so adverse to it because I have really bad handwriting and it just upset me that I had bad handwriting because I didn't develop good handwriting, whatever. And then I started and having that kind of like free flow of writing that no one else is going to read and you can write anything. It's very therapeutic. And I try and like, when I do it in the evenings, I try and take a little pic if I'm in the mood and share with people to inspire them maybe. Yeah. Or they're just like, this girl's bloody writing in her diary again, Erim, shut up.
No, I think what you do is really good, to be fair. Like I've seen a few times over the past couple of days in anticipation for the podcast, every morning you put Waheguru on your story as well, which I think is really good because a lot of people, their first thought in the morning is, let's go check on Instagram. But then when you go check on Instagram and the first thing you see is Waheguru, it's more like a reminder, like get off your phone and go do some part or meditate.
And that's the thing. That was my first thought for a long time. And then I thought, let me be held publicly accountable to my followers who get mad at me if I don't not get mad, but they're like, Sissy, you okay? So now I automatically say that, and it really is about that habit. And like you're saying, someone who might have instinctively checked Instagram, the first thing they see is Waheguru. Hopefully that can kind of change into at least switching the other way around. So it goes Waheguru, then Instagram.
Yeah. Which is how it should be. Yeah, Waheguru first and then Instagram. But again, it's one of them things where, like we were speaking before about the sort of oils and like haldi and things. Again, meditation is something that's obviously in our religion for from its inception 400 years ago, 500 years ago. I was going to get slated there if I didn't say that right.
I got you.
yeah, cheers for having my back there. And again, it's one of them things where like modern technology is now finally catching up with all these traditional things that we were doing so long ago. I've really enjoyed this, to be honest. I've really enjoyed this conversation. And at the end of every single podcast, I ask every guest the same 5 questions. So they're fairly quick fire, so just whatever comes to your mind first. But they're also quite deep, so they might take you back a tiny bit as well. So to try and get that balance. So number 1 is, what are you most proud of?
Okay, it's 2 things. This is graduating with the first, because I really didn't think I was going to get first. And my baba was wearing his bug in the front row with my dad, and I was wearing my Asian outfit. And then number 2, it was, we hit 7 figures in the business, and I was at my daddy baba's house when it happened. They didn't really know what I was talking about. They were like, okay. And I was like, it's a good thing.
That's sick. That's very good. What are you most looking forward to?
In the business world or in the Erim world?
Do an answer for each or both? Anything that pops in your mind?
I'm really enjoying where my like Instagram is going at the moment. Like I'm having a lot of fun because I'm working with different brands and I feel really legit. Like I walk down the high street and I'm like, I worked with Topshop, I worked with H&M, and I just feel like it's very validating for little Erim, you know, who could not afford Topshop. Let me make that very clear. And now I'm like, they're giving me clothes and they're paying me. You know.
What is your biggest inspiration?
My dad. I think he knew I was going to say that.
Yeah. Number 4. Number 4 is, what is your definition of success?
I think is when your family don't have to worry about nothing. And I know that indicates money. And I think that does play a role, but I think it's just when you've managed to work out a way to let all your worries go. And that doesn't mean pay off your worries. It doesn't mean fix your problems. It just means you'll get to a point where it doesn't matter. Like you're happy regardless, you know?
Yeah. No, I understand that. I think a lot of people shy away from saying like monetary sort of things are an influence, but it's important in this world. And for the way that you phrased it is saying like your family doesn't have to worry is actually like more to their happiness makes you happy, is how I perceive that. So
yeah. And just kind of like, because I think about Sikhi and it's like that it says like Guruji will absolve all your worries, and he's not saying he'll give you money, you know, but like he absolves all your worries. So it's like when you got to a point where like you're just like, it doesn't matter if I'm in debt, or it doesn't matter or if I'm being sued, you know, it's just kind of like I'm happy regardless.
Yeah. And last but not least, because it is the KultureKast podcast, how has your culture affected you thus far?
You know, I grew up in a very kind of like a multicultural like area, but it wasn't, like I mentioned, like South Asian. So I don't think my culture affected me that much until I went to uni. But I think my religion definitely has influenced the person I am today. And that's the side of me that I lean into more versus the Punjabi culture, which I think can be very contradicting to the Sikh principles, if that makes sense.
100%. That's why I don't want to name this podcast anything to do with the religion side of things, because I feel like the religion is what it was supposed to be, and the culture is what flawed individuals have made it. It's always going to be very different, but I do think that every culture has got its benefits and drawbacks, but it's knowing about so many different cultures and absorbing all this like sort of multiculturalism, which is really cool. Like your individual culture is not just like the Sikh or the South Asian, as you said, you grew around
London,
exactly.
100%.
It's all of that has contributed to make you who you are today, which is why I like talking to so many different people about their cultures. Again, I really thank you for your time today. Is there anything that you want to say like at the end or anything?
No, I just want to say thank you. This was a really fun podcast. You're very good at interviewing, so well done to yourself. And I'm very honored that you picked me to be on here, so thank you again. And then if anyone wanted to follow me, it's just Erim.
Yeah, all of your links will be in the description below, whether that be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, the works. But as I say, you're killing the Instagram game, so they'll probably follow you on socials and not me. So follow me as well.